Hey everyone, it's Dave on what is the darkest of dark days for this country. The darkest day, I would suggest, since the UK declared war on Nazi Germany in 1939. And do you know, I wish I could do a video every now and again with a little bit of good news, strike a bit of an optimistic tone, because I do think I'm more of an optimist than a pessimist generally, but I just can't find any good news at the moment. These are dark, dangerous times that we are in now. So before I start, if you would like to see more of my content, please hit the subscribe button. As negative as it may seem at the moment, I am doing my very best to try to bring to the attention of as many people as I can what is going on in our world, and to try to alert people to the perilous waters that we're in. Because I really, really feel that there are too many people who don't realise the gravity and the enormity of the situation. So before we can look to find solutions, we need to find a degree of acknowledgement and certainly some unity. So I'm just going to talk today. We've heard the news that with only a few days to go until Christmas, with all of the country in a form of lockdown, large parts of the country in a severe form of lockdown, that a new strain of the virus has been identified. And this strikes me as the timing of it is one thing, because whichever way we look at the situation, whether you're of the mind that this is genuine or whether it's in some way connected with Brexit, and I will come to that in a minute, it's bad news. Whichever way you paint it, it's bad news. If indeed there is a strain of this virus that is 70% more transmissible, we'll follow the logical steps to what changes in policy that is going to bring about with relation to further lockdowns, more stringent lockdowns, possibly more powers given to police to arrest any dissenters. It's not ending anytime soon, is what I'm saying. Now, I talked about the timing of this. I anticipate as well that probably the whole country will be put into lockdown, into the severest form of lockdown in the next 24 hours for Christmas. I think that's going to happen. I did predict that would happen back in the summer, by the way, because these evil bastards will stop at nothing. The timing of it, Brexit, 4.5 years after we voted to leave the EU, we still haven't left. We're due to leave, deal or no deal, on the 31st of December when the transition period ends. It seems like too much of a coincidence. 2 weeks to go, a deal still hasn't been agreed, and all of a sudden UK access to Europe, to many European countries, has been halted. We don't know how long for. That seems like too much of a coincidence for me, that. It doesn't make sense. Like nothing this year has made sense to me. I am of the opinion, here's my opinion, that this has been brought about to delay the UK's departure or stop the UK's departure from the European Union. Or to be used as an excuse to delay or stop the UK's departure from the European Union. And the reason I think why today is the darkest of days is I feel like the battle is already lost in so many ways. I feel like the battle for our democracy, the battle for free speech, and the battle for freedoms is, if not lost, on the very verge of being lost. And I did a video a few months ago called we're on the verge of economic and societal collapse. I think we're just closer to that now. I do. I just think society is on the verge of collapsing in on itself, not just in the UK, but across the large parts of the Western world. But I feel like the situation in the UK is terrible. I feel like we're staring into the abyss now. I really do. And when I consider how I voted in 2016, I made the right decision, because the European Union is bearing its arse to the world, is showing itself exactly for what it is. I think the way that the United Kingdom has been treated by the European Union, for having the temerity to vote to leave an institution, a political union that we'd only been part of for 40 years in our long history. We've been a member of a political, protectionist, anti-democratic union for a brief hiatus of time. Well, the little people had their revenge on the establishment, on the European Union, on the bureaucrats in 2016 by voting to leave that anti-democratic, protectionist, overly bureaucratic organisation that purports to stand for unity. We've seen this year there has been no unity within the European Union, and we're seeing now exactly what it thinks of European unity with the way that it's treating the United Kingdom. What short memories? 75 years ago, 75, 80 years ago, the UK stood alone in Europe. It stood alone against the might of the Nazi Empire. As large parts of Europe capitulated, the UK stood firm, its finest hour. Against all the odds, it didn't win the war by itself, but it managed to stem the tide of fascism in those early days of World War II. And you look what the UK has given to Europe, how it's contributed to the European Union, politically, culturally, economically, militarily, to the European Union and to Europe as a whole. And I know there will be many people in many countries in Europe who are disgusted with the way the European Union is behaving. So is this new mutant strain of the virus, is it real? Or maybe it's real, but they've known about it for a long time. There's talk that its presence has been known since September. Okay, well, maybe it makes sense to give it the media exposure just a few days before the UK is due to leave the EU. Try and scare the UK citizens into submission. Try and bully the UK negotiating team into accepting no deal or to extending the transition, accepting a crap deal or extending the transition period. 2016 was such a big year in terms of rebellion against the European Union, obviously, and also with the vote against Trump. And I just wonder, is this year a revenge of the establishment on the little people for voting the wrong way? And not just the establishment, but their acolytes and their sycophantic saboteurs that are absolutely everywhere. The people who can't accept democracy. Dark days, dark days. So, where do we go from here? I'll talk about the Second World War then. And my grandparents fought in the Second World War. The sacrifice that they made in the name of preserving our freedoms, defending liberty, standing for good against evil, risked their lives, left their houses to go and fight in Europe and North Africa, knowing that they may never come back, whilst in the meantime two nanas left behind with their families, hiding under kitchen tables as the bombs rained down on them. What sacrifices they made for us. Yet here we are, with so many people in this country now who, regardless of what they think about the virulence of this virus and the danger that it poses, now believe that what is happening in their country is wicked, yet are still complying with rules. And the interesting thing I've remarked on this, I think, recently is everyone I know now breaks lockdown. Everyone I know. I don't think anybody has any truck with the rules anymore. Nobody knows what the rules are, apart from when they go out in public or when they need to do something that may be public facing. So wearing the masks or not being seen to be breaking the rules, or even such things as wanting to comment on posts on social media, but fearful in case somebody sees what they really think. And I remember, like, back in the early days of this, you know, some people still think this is all about a virus and it's all justified, which blows my mind. How I find that deranged beyond belief now, that anyone can justify any of this. But making fun of those of us who woke up pretty quick to what was actually going on here, and the threats that were posed to our ways of life, to our freedoms, to our livelihoods, to our jobs, tried to signal warnings, and were made either dismissed or made fun of. I'm wondering what a lot of those people think now, because do you still think you're not being controlled? Do you still think that? At the end of the day, if you've come to the decision that you don't like what's going on and it's wrong, yet you're still either abiding by some rules or scared to say what you really think, whether that's in work, whether that's on a video, on a Facebook post, whether that's not going where you want to go at Christmas, whatever it is. Do you really think you're not being controlled? Do you really think that? Because I'm sorry, you are. So for me, this is a time now to look back to the example of my grandparents and their generation and realise that now is the time to make a sacrifice. If it makes you feel uncomfortable, you have to do it. And realise that in not making that sacrifice, in not taking that risk, you risk leading us all into a black abyss, and you don't want to go there. Into the darkest of places. Because if this carries on, there's no limit to what this government will do to us. And also ask yourself the question, go back to March the 23rd, 3 weeks lockdown, which I think we all complied with in good faith. Everyone did. There was very, very minimal breaking of lockdown rules. It was the time when we were all clapping the NHS. I don't think I'll ever forgive myself for that, clapping a genocidal NHS. Shame on me for doing that. But we did. We all dutifully, in good faith, did what we were asked to do. 3 weeks. Well, we've never gone back to normal, have we? And I'd say, until recently, compliance with everything. Compliance is still above 99% with face masks. Compliance with a lot of other things isn't anywhere near to being full now, which is good. But until recently, compliance with most of the rules and regulations and laws that have been brought in has been pretty full compliance. Yet the noose has been tightened further and further and further. What does that prove to you? What does it show you? It shows you that Blind obedience is the route to tyranny. That's what it shows you. So don't play their game. Show disobedience. And if that means taking a risk, then do it. Realise that in being scared to say what you really think, that being scared into putting a face mask on when you go out in public, being scared into not going where you want to go and being with who you want to be with, you're playing their game. You are giving them the power. They are controlling you. You are living in an oppressed, repressed manner under the cloak of tyrannical government, and it's only going to get worse. Anyone who had any understanding of 20th century European history would get this. And the people who do get it are the ones like me doing these videos, and the ones who have been going on protest and who are now sickeningly being vilified by keyboard warriors on Facebook, probably who have either got full pay or on pensions or on furlough. Okay, yeah. Apparently it's not Boris Johnson's fault that we're in this position. Apparently not. It's the fault of the people who went on anti-lockdown, pro-freedom protests. Okay, well, by that logic, then it's also the fault of people who went on Black Lives Matter protests, Extinction Rebellion protests. The point is, the people who have carried the can for freedom, who've carried the flame of freedom, who've spoken out, who've gone on protests, who've done videos like this, who've not obeyed by the rules because they know they're wrong. They're the people who understand history. They're the people who have an insight into how a society can turn in on itself, how a society can be ruled over with an iron fist, and the horrors that can ensue as a result of blind obedience, as a result of not questioning. They're the people who are in tune with what's going on. They're the intelligent ones, and they're the ones with bravery and courage. And for them to be vilified, I've been on protest, and the people there was no sign of trouble at all. Nice people, people who wanted to have a conversation, people who wanted their voices heard in a non-violent, non-threatening way, who'd been misrepresented by the media, and who were being slagged off by either thick or ignorant or nasty pieces of work on Facebook. Yeah. And if you're one of those people, you need to have a really good long hard look in the mirror, because mark my words, if you didn't have a job, if you didn't have a pension, if you didn't have what you think is security, you wouldn't be sending those posts, and your view would change. So again, I'm going to say to the, I think, vast majority of people in this country now, though, who are worried, are concerned, and know that things are heading rapidly down a very, very dangerous path. You have to stop obeying the rules. You have to show disobedience. Blind obedience is worse than blind disobedience. Primo Levi, an Italian who wrote a book on his experiences at Auschwitz. I've read it. It's called If This Is a Man. Please read it. And it's an interesting book, and it's mainly very non-judgmental, because he writes it from a perspective of just wanting to understand how humanity can treat humanity in such a degrading way. But one thing he does say that struck me, and he talks about how he didn't see the evil monsters at the top of the Nazi regime as the real problem. He saw the normal people who were turned into evil monsters by the evil monsters at the top of the Nazi regime. What he was trying to say to us is there aren't that many truly evil people in society, but the real problems are the ones who let them do it, which makes them as bad, if not worse. Now, do you want to be one of those people? And I'm talking in stark terms here, because our very future and the future of our children is at stake here. Are you going to do what's right? Are you going to speak your truth? Are you going to do what you know in your heart of hearts is the right thing? Are you going to stop hiding at home? Are you going to get out there and show the world your leadership? Are you going to stop being a sheep? Are you going to stop being a scared little kitten? And are you going to find the strength and the courage to do what needs to be done? Okay, please leave a comment. Let me know what you think of my video, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye bye.